Well, as always, thanks for joining. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite time of year. It is the Michigan 2022 Deer Camp. So this year I picked up my brother-in-law Eric. We headed up north to Deer Camp where we met my brother-in-law Jeff. All right, opening day 2022.
Filming. I thought it was a picture.
I did too. I walked in, I'm like,
Opening day, Deer Camp 2022. We're here on the public land. Jeff's going to his spot. Biggie's going back to the ladder stand, which we haven't even scouted this year.
Could be good though.
Knock something down.
Let's do it, boys.
let's do it. Let's do it.
As soon as we got there, we unpacked, headed out for a night hunt. Within 45 minutes of me being set up, I spotted a buck coming up behind me and got the camera on him. It was one of two bucks that I knew that I would shoot for sure that had been coming through. And as soon as I turned my camera around, I noticed it was actually chasing a doe. And so I got the GoPro on, I got my Sony turned on, and thanks to GoPro, big sponsor of the channel, died. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so tired of having problems with my GoPros. Got the Sony on the doe, and she was about 50 yards away, and all of a sudden she decided to run straight at my tree. So I knew I was going to have an opportunity at this buck. Didn't have a chance to move the camera onto the buck, so you never see the buck come into frame, but he was able to stop him, got a shot on him. Definitely hit a little far back. I let it go all night, and we finished out the hunt, and then later on we ended up tracking blood. We tracked that deer for about 150 yards with very little blood, but wasn't able to recover it. So later on that night, my brother-in-law Jeff, he was able to tag a deer. First night out. There's a reason we call them buttons, folks.
That's right. And it's Veterans Day, so.
And it's Veterans Day. I mean, it's only fitting. And then Ryan and John, they were hunting out of a box blind, and John was able to harvest his first deer ever, which was really cool. And Ryan ended up doubling up, so they both got small bucks. It was really cool. So the very first day of hunting, we ended up having 3 deer. Jeff got 1, John and Ryan. So that was really cool. And then we got back to camp and we'd hung up all our deer. We were eating dinner and I got a phone call from my daughter, and my daughter got a monster 8-pointer, which is really cool. Really big buck for here in Michigan. Unfortunately, she got that deer with her car. So we'll be looking for a new car now. But interesting way to start off the season. Day 2, we saw some deer but had no shots fired, but did have a little bit of action. Day 3 started off with us all hunting out of box blinds. So we were able to hunt out some box blinds that were on some of the family's private property that they have. And me and Ryan hunted out of a box blind that we call the Taj. And so a little different than I'm used to hunting in a heated box blind. Unfortunately, wasn't able to shoot with my bow. Had to use a crossbow just due to the size of the thing. So a small buck had snuck up on us, and I was able to get a great shot on this deer who was quartering away. And it sounded like he crashed about 80, 90 yards out. So we stayed for a couple hours and continued to hunt. When we got up to go track, had great blood at impact, got the arrow, had great lung blood.
Hey, we found blood. There's your arrow. There's the arrow. Go ahead.
Where have we seen this before?
Where have we seen this before? Straight out. Oh, is there blood on the shaft?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, you like that, do you? And followed that thing for a little while, spraying all over the place. And all of a sudden, I looked up and saw a deer running off. And it might have been my buck. So we followed the blood to where that deer had taken off, and there was no bedding area. So I was kind of thinking maybe it was just a coincidence and it was a different deer. Thankfully it was. We tracked that deer, ran about 180 to 190 yards. Once we gutted it, found that it was a great double lung hit. Not sure why it was able to run that far, but anyway, recovered that deer, dragged it back, and got it hung up with a meat locker. Jeff and Eric, they were hunting out of another box blind, and Jeff was able to tag a really nice tom, so that was really cool. So that night we cut up the deer heart and the turkey breast, and we had a deer turkey stew, which was really awesome. Cool to be able to eat your harvest right away. And then we spent a lot of time that afternoon just having a lot of fun. We ended up having a knife throwing contest, and Brennan smoked us all.
I wouldn't even try to hit.
Throw off.
Oh!
And then we pulled out one of our favorites, is the ghillie suit scare, and Ryan dressed up in the ghillie suit and scared his uncle when he came over. So that's always funny.
Ghillie suit. Where did you find that?
Day 4, it's the day before gun opener. I ended up sitting in my stand and saw a doe and a buck that were both headed towards my brother-in-law Eric in another stand, and let him know that they were headed his way. The doe ended up running off in a different direction, but that buck ended up coming in, and I thought for sure he was going to get a shot. And sure enough, that deer was coming in, and Eric had the lane picked out, knew exactly where he was probably going to go. Just needed him to clear this last tree to have a good shot at 30 yards. And he held up just before that tree, with that tree blocking his vitals, and just for some reason decided to turn around and walk away. Day 5 is the big show. We call it Christmas morning. It is Michigan gun opener. We ended up having a big breakfast and all heading out to our different spots. Jeff and Eric, they always loved, it's their tradition to hunt in the same stand. They double up, and they had a great time. That morning seemed really, really quiet. Normally on opening morning, you hear a few poachers who are shooting early. We were shooting sometimes 10, 15 minutes before first light. But this morning, totally silent. As I watched the clock tick, even at first light, there still hadn't been a shot. The first shot that I heard ring out was 9 minutes after first legal shooting light, which is amazing to me. That shot happened to be my brother-in-law Eric, which was really cool because we got the first shot of the morning and ended up putting down a single-sided rack 3-pointer, which was really cool. It was the only deer we were able to get down on opening morning, which is really rare for us, but still a really cool morning. Later on in the morning, it started snowing, and it picked up and was snowing pretty good. So we got down, tracked down Eric's buck, got that thing gutted and drug out. Had a great opportunity to have some cool family pictures.
What did you do?
Really great, make some great memories. So that was really cool. The snow continued to fall. That evening, me and my brother-in-law, Jeff, we doubled up in the same stand, had a small buck sneak in on us, and before we could get set up on it, it got spooked and ran off. But that was the only deer that we were able to put down on opening day. The next morning, Eric stayed in. Me and my brother-in-law Jeff headed out for the morning hunt, and it had continued to snow, and it was really cool. It had really put a lot of weight on limbs and trees, and had really just put a beautiful picture out there. It was really cool. And driving in, it was like a really wet snow, so we got all set up as the daylight opened up. Me and Jeff had no action at all that morning, but our buddy Ryan, he ended up shooting us over a text, and he had dropped a nice 8-pointer. So Eric and Brennan headed out to help him drag that thing out. Really cool. That kind of wrapped up deer camp, brought that deer back, and we began the processing. We process all of our own deer, so we skin them, quarter them up, and then get all the cuts of meat. So we spent the next 5 or 6 hours just continuing to process deer. We come home with our coolers full of our harvest. So it was really cool. We wrapped up the season. Every one of us was able to knock down a buck. And I know it isn't a big buck, and I don't really care. What it's really all about is about making memories for us and spending time with friends and family. So we had a great deer camp for 2022, and we're still going to be going out. And we've still got a few days left in the Michigan gun season, and then it'll be muzzleloader season. And then we have bow season that continues all the way to January. So still going to continue to hunt. Got a few more nice bucks on camera, and hopefully we'll have some more action. As always, thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.